And welcome to another episode
So
of...
wait a minute. I need to move this camera over here. Yay!
All right, welcome to another episode of Slayer TV. We're here with the contract slayer, April Rogerson.
Yay.
April, got a question for you.
Yes.
Let's talk today to people who are moving to Atlanta because we have parts of our population that are shifting around in this country. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. What I've noticed is that due to the pandemic, a lot of people have been just looking for more space. So if you live in a larger city, I'm from New York, there's a lot of people from New York that's relocating here, California, Chicago, and the pandemic really kind of lit some fire under this is a little too close for comfort for me. So a lot of people started coming to Georgia. It was one of the options.
So that's right. So the last person out of California needs to turn the lights off before they leave, don't they?
Probably. They're heading down here soon. They're purchasing a house in Columbus, Georgia. Yay!
They are. They are coming this way. What do you have to say to the people that are coming our way and moving to Atlanta? Any tips, advice for them?
Yeah, so for me, I offer relocation services in terms of my packaging overall and the things that I help them do in terms of the inspection, virtual showings, things like that. But I also think there is something happening here about value. A lot of people that are coming from these larger cities are thinking Georgia's cheap. And it's like, yeah, it's cheap comparatively, but it's no longer cheap. And the people in Georgia are like, boo to this new second wave that's happening. So there's some locals who are kind of like, this is starting to kind of push them out in a lot of ways. And I don't think most people think of those things when they're relocating. They don't really think about the effect that they're going to have on the community when they get here. But I do think there is still value to be had. However, I think that the value is not what it used to be. So you're not going to get a 5-bedroom, 3-bath home for $100,000 anymore.
No, those days are gone.
Those are really, really gone. They're gone. People, they're gone.
So talk for just a second about the specific parts of Atlanta where you spend most of your time and focus.
So I work the whole metro Atlanta region for the most part, but my specialty and my expertise is in South Fulton. And overall, there's different demographics that come into play when people are looking to move in general, but especially when they're coming from another area.
Boy, I've born and raised here in Atlanta, lived here my whole life, never lived anywhere else, and I've never been more optimistic and excited for the South Fulton area than right now. There's so much happening. Yeah. But could you describe what a median, middle, average house looks like in South Fulton? Price, feature, size?
So the median home price is around $250,000. That's going to get you a decent 4-bedroom, 3-bath home. There's still some movement there in between. You can get something obviously a little bit cheaper, but that's pretty much where it lands. And there are some highly coveted school districts in South Fulton. So Westlake, they've been knocking them out with their performances in school. Darrell's been doing good. Langston Hughes has been doing good. So a lot of people have been really looking at the South Fulton region like they have something to offer, and I think they do.
So if I'm coming from California, I think $250,000 sounds really good.
Yeah, I know.
What's the problem with that?
There's no problem with that, but for every action, there is something there's a cause and effect that happens there. So obviously, I don't know if you've seen them, but there's quite a few We Fold shirts running around Atlanta saying, nobody else, don't come, we're good. Find another place to settle. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with that specifically, but it does cause some effect on the economy in the place where you're moving to. So I think people overall have welcomed the changes that have come with a lot of people coming from different areas and bringing, Atlanta is really starting to become a melting pot of sorts that did not exist, 15 years ago when we came here. So I think that it's a good thing, but it is having an adverse effect on people who had, regular jobs and wanted to just buy a regular house. It's like, I could have had a job at Target and bought a house, 10 years ago. Now it's becoming more difficult for them to do that with a single income at that.
So let's talk for just a second about that $250,000 house in South Fulton. About what could I expect to get? How big would that house be, and what kind of features?
So about 2,500 square feet.
Okay.
You have probably about a quarter acre at minimum in terms of land. In terms of features, that can be hit or miss. What we're finding sometimes is that people would like to have some modern or nicer finishes, but you're not necessarily getting that at $250. You might need to bump that up to $300. So if you want, upgraded countertops, upgraded flooring, things like that, you may not get those things anymore at $250. And there was a time that you would. It was like this: you could buy a brand new house for $250,000, and you can still get that in some areas, but it's not going to be 25 minutes outside of Atlanta.
Okay. Mm-hmm. 5 to 7 years ago, what would that 250 house have cost me 5 to 7 years ago?
$175.
Yeah. So is that the problem that you're referencing? Is some of the local people are seeing prices go up quickly?
Right. And it's not the income that people are making locally is not growing at that same pace. So a $75,000 increase on homes is a big deal, and that's across all price points. So $100,000 home that was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath 5 to 7 years ago is now $175,000. That's a big difference for the average working person who was able to home ownership was more easily attainable at that time. So.
Now you're from Brooklyn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I'm coming from Brooklyn to Atlanta, what do I think about being able to buy?
Wait. Yes, go ahead.
What's my perception of being able to buy a 2,500 square foot home for $250,000?
Honestly, people still are holding on to these 2,000 prices. Like they're still like, I thought I could get, and I'm like, that's not no. So, and it's hard because you're trying to tell them no, and they're looking at you like you just don't want me to find a deal. And it's like, of course I want you to find a deal, but I'm telling you that does not exist. So $250,000 is still a nice home, but it may not be the mini McMansion that you would have been able to get a couple of years back. So.
Let's shift for a second. Talk about some of the really cool stuff going on in South Fulton. What do you see going on in the community?
Well, there's a Wolf Creek Amphitheater, which was an outdoor theater that we had, and prior to just recently, I don't remember when the decision was made, but it was owned by Fulton County. So I will say we had a great time in the past at Wolf Creek. It was concerts. It was always something going on every week, but it was stagnant for the last 2 years. Obviously, COVID played a part, but now the city of South Fulton has acquired it, and they're going to have the local high school graduations there. And for a long time, people were having to travel way outside of the city for their graduation. At one point, it was being held at the Dome, I think, at one point, and then that kind of stopped, and then now it's like you're wherever they could find, and now we don't have to worry about them going far to find it. There's enough room for everyone, and it's local, which is a great thing because most people don't want to have to. And then take into account some people don't have the transportation to get to wherever they could find. I think the last one was way up wherever that theater is up Perimeter, which is not close.
That's quite a trip.
It's not close. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Anything else that's going on in the community right now that really excites you? Like you're going, now this is cool. This is happening. They're doing a
lot. Like there is a lot happening. I think it's pretty cool with the infancy of the city. We're still growing. And there's a lot of different things that are going on in terms of like parks and recreation. They are very big on trying to get input from the people in the community, which I think is great. And it's there's this very weird space of frustration, but also pleased, because it's like they're working, and that's, I think, in a lot of ways, that's all you can ask for is that they're working on behalf of the residents.
Okay, so you know what I keep saying, right? You are going to be mayor of Atlanta one day. You might as well just go ahead and do it.
How are my mayoral campaign questions going so far, y'all?
We're going to run where they can donate to your campaign across the bottom.
There's fireworks going off at the bottom of the screen.
So we're a little unprepared for this, but I guess we can edit it out if you make me. But poof, you're mayor of Atlanta starting tomorrow. What's the first two things you do?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think the first two things that I would do, let me think about this. I think that one of the things that people have been wanting is to see kind of a centralized kind of touristy area, and I think that's coming into play where the sky, whatever the Ferris wheel is, in Centennial Park. But I would develop that more and make it more kind of how they have it at the Braves,
Right.
The Battery, where it's kind
So I
of
guess
like,
in the old days when I was a kid, it was underground Atlanta.
right, and
But-
underground is
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a good idea.
Yeah.
What else would you do?
And then at one point they were shutting down Peachtree for people to kind of like ride their bikes and do all of that stuff. I think that I would lean towards bringing the family-oriented feel back to the city. I think that at one point it's gotten kind of like you said, the underground and places like that where they were lively. Now it's kind of like everything's kind of stopped. And I think there is some development and investment happening there, and I would like to see that ramped up a little bit and including the overall family feel. They're doing some stuff at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so I'm pretty certain that that's where they're going with it. But I also would want that to be kind of a hands-on approach from the community as well, and not that it's just being built around them. I would like to see that they have some access as well as input in terms of how they interact with the community, and they're not just kind of keep pushing them out to the outskirts.
Good. Not going to let you escape today without an opinion. When you look at the landscape of real estate in Atlanta, you are optimistic, concerned? How do you look at the real estate market today?
I'm optimistic, but I am concerned for the people who is becoming less and less accessible for them. I am concerned about those people. Again, coming from New York, it was difficult for many people, but specifically, culturally Black people, to attain home ownership. So one of the reasons why a lot of people started to move back south was for that reason. We were, $500,000 for a house is just not attainable for the average person, and we actually were making pretty good money. So when that first wave of migration for Black people to come south, it was specifically because they couldn't afford to live where they were living anymore and be active part of the economy where you have home ownership, business ownership, and all of that. And I think that Atlanta, North Carolina, places like that offered that for Black people, so that's why they moved back south. So I think that part is scary because that is not, there's going to come a threshold where that's not even the case for people that are coming from the west or north or whatever. So where do those people go, and where do the locals go when that happens?
I think all of us are kind of hoping for some kind of calming when it comes to real estate prices, right? So they stay affordable.
Yeah.
Anything else? You seem generally optimistic about home ownership, though.
I'm generally an optimistic person about everything, except for maybe politics, but whatever. You're trying to get me to run for mayor, so I didn't say that. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I think that one thing that I would like to see, and I think I work with a lot of down payment assistance programs and down payment assistance clients. So I do think that there are going to be programs that will continue to be in place to try to help that, because that is a barrier to people being able to purchase. But it is also going to become harder because there's income limits to that, and there's price limits to the purchase price. So I just think that as long as the people who are in charge of trying to create some balance in the ecosystem keep those things in mind, then people will still have access, and that's what I think is the most important.
Well, we've covered a wide variety of topics today, as we usually do.
Yes.
So, but this gets people an inside track on future mayor of Atlanta. So, donations can be sent to my home address.
That's what I thought. I was getting comfortable with this whole process.
Folks, that's Slayer TV for this week.
That was Slayer TV for this week. Close it out, Mike.
We'll see you next week. Tune in. Let's see what she talks about. Poof.